Welcome back inside Gillette Stadium, everybody. My name is Mike Petraglia, joined as always by Patriots expert columnist for WEEI.com, Christopher Price. We don't often disagree, Chris, but I think we're going to disagree on the way we look at the 16-9 Patriot victory over the Oakland Raiders here in the home opener of 2014. I think the Patriots have big issues. I think those were pretty much exposed in front of a team, an Oakland team that a lot of people, Vegas, odds makers, whoever you want to name it, thought the Patriots were clearly the better team coming in.
We both thought the same thing.
We thought that the Patriots, I think both of us thought, you predicted 35-10 in your preview last Wednesday. I thought they'd be a 3-touchdown winner. That was not the case today. Bill Belichick is always talking about how each game has its own flow, its own story, but at the end of the day, I don't think the Patriots looked as dominant as they should have against a weaker team.
I agree with you on that point. I do. I agree with you on that point. The problems that any team has, however, at this stage of the year, these fundamentally, to me anyway, the problems that they do have are first world NFL problems.
Right.
These are not problems that befuddle, most teams would love to have these problems. Most teams would kill to have these kinds of problems. This is not a 6-10 team. I think this is a team that is still, to my mind, right now, at least history tells us, they find a way to figure it out. And they understand that the team that you have on Labor Day is not necessarily the team you have at Halloween, the team you have at Thanksgiving, the team you have at Christmas. There's a growth process. And I think in 2011, 2012, 2013, we saw that team go through that growth process. And those teams were a lot like this team is now. And again, history tells us, the last few years is any indication, they'll find some sort of way to figure it out. Whether it's improving the offensive line play, whether it's developing more chemistry with receivers not named Rob Gronkowski or Julian Edelman, whether it's an improved level of defense. I think that these are things that can be fixed. I don't think that these are necessarily big problems.
Okay, the reason I say, and you're right about first world problems, that the Patriots are struggling and I think have big issues is the fact that everybody around this organization knows one thing: it's Super Bowl or bust. This is not the Buffalo Bills, who would be, thrilled to get back to the playoffs this year, or even the Miami Dolphins, or the San Diego Chargers, or the Kansas City Chiefs, teams like that. The bar obviously is set at the Super Bowl level for this team, and anybody watching the game on Sunday has a hard time, frankly, envisioning this team making enough changes over the course of the season to get back to that level. Now, your point being well taken, I think, Chris, is the fact that last couple of years, it's offense first, and the defense came on at the end of the year, last year falling just short in the AFC Championship game. This year, I think, the tables have been turned.
Yeah, I do. I think the defense is ahead of the offense. It's a little bit like the old spring training adage, right? The pitchers are ahead of the hitters.
Right.
I think when you look at this Patriots team, and that for me is the major difference. You look at this team can win some defensive games. Granted, the last two games have been against the Vikings and the Raiders, not exactly the cream of the crop. But I think from what we've seen from this defense over the course of the preseason, over the course of training camp to this point in the calendar, suggests that they can win some games defensively that they couldn't necessarily win last year. Defense never goes out of style. Offense kind of comes and goes. Defense never goes out of style. I think this group, again, they're going to be able to win some games on the defensive side of the ball like we've seen over the last 2 years.
Okay, in watching Tom Brady today, he did have a red zone touchdown pass to Rob Gronkowski. It gave the Patriots the lead for good, as it turned out, in this contest. The Raiders made it close with a couple of field goals, made it 10-9, and then Brady led the team down the field for a couple of field goals. The red zone issues. If you're not going to Rob Gronkowski, it seems like the Patriots and Tom Brady are having trouble punching it in.
You need to find some sort of separation. If it's not Gronkowski, you need to find another receiver who can make something happen down there. Whether it's Edelman, whether it's LaFell, whether it's Tim Wright, a longer, taller target maybe might be the wisest course of action. You also need to find something in the running game, in the red zone. You need to get more in the running game than you have over the first 3 weeks. Over the first 3 weeks of this season, you're going to need more on the ground in the red zone than you've got from guys like Ridley and Vereen and the rest of the group. They showed a lot over the course of the second half of the year last year when Gronkowski was out. They were able to run the ball in the red zone and get good yardage and punch the ball in more often than not. They need to find some sort of solution. I think that's a very good point. They need to find some sort of solution when it comes to the red zone issue.
Okay, we came in, all we heard was the Oakland Raiders can't run the ball and they can't stop the run. Today, they ran the ball a little bit better, but they certainly did a respectable job against the Patriots' rushing attack. Why couldn't the Patriots run the ball more effectively? And before you begin, obviously a lot of people will look at the first three play calls of this game, the three passes by Tom Brady, and go, didn't the Patriots know the Raiders came in ranked 32nd in run defense?
Exactly. There's certain things that are not complicated. You know, we try and make the game complicated a lot of times. There's certain things that aren't complicated. You know, you want to exploit the other team's weakness. I think to my mind is, you know, you look at this team, you look at Oakland, they're very bad against the run, and they come out throwing the ball against them. I don't understand that. The play calling, to me, at least from the Patriots' perspective today on the offensive side of the ball, was a little bit suspect in that regard. I thought that they should have run the ball more consistently, right out of the gate, kept pounding it up in there against a really porous Oakland run defense. And I understand part of it's complementary, and you need to have, you know, a nice balance, and you need to throw the ball, you need to run the ball to be more effective as an overall offense, but I don't understand why they chose to do what they did on the offensive side of the ball, coming out throwing as opposed to running.
All right, let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball. Darrelle Revis. I thought he was picked on a little bit by the rookie Derek Carr out of Fresno State. I thought Derek Carr looked very, very good until obviously throwing into a zone right behind us at the end of the game. Big Vince Wilfork saving the day with under a minute to go as the Patriots come out winners. But Derek Carr had no problem picking on Darrelle Revis, and Revis was asked after the game, are you comfortable with where you're at? His answer was, we're 3 games in, right? I think I'm okay.
Yeah, he's going to be one of those. We talked to him about that over the course of the summer as well, where, you know, are you sure you're okay? You're sure you're where you need to be? And he kind of gives you the side. I was like, I'm fine. Don't you worry about me. Yeah, I thought he played a little soft today. I thought that there were times where he gave up some passes. I don't know how much of that was coach directed. I don't know how much of that was Revis's technique. But I thought that there were times today where he gave up a couple of balls that were a little bit surprising. You know, especially in the wake of what we saw last week, where he was really, especially, you know, he was really able to shut down Greg Jennings for pretty much the course of the game. So, yeah, I do think. I think in the short term, I thought it was interesting the way he played today, and I thought it was interesting the way that the Raiders went after him. To your point, I thought Carr had a great day. I was very impressed by Carr. He was very poised. He couldn't get the team in the end zone, and ultimately that's, you know, what failed them. But I think, you know, we saw a lot from Carr today that, you know, should give a Raiders fan a certain level of encouragement for the future. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're talking about defense. They kept them out of the end zone. You know, they gave up 9 points. They gave up 9 points today. They gave up 7 points last week. Again, you have to understand the level of competition they were playing against. But at the same time, I think that's something that the defense can hang their hat on at the end of the day.
2 huge calls that really determined how this game ended. First of all, the pass interference, defensive pass interference on Logan Ryan down here near the end zone. The Raiders receiver and Logan Ryan get tangled up, and everybody in the world, I think from where we were sitting, was assuming that it was offensive pass interference because all the TV replay showed was Logan Ryan being drawn to the ground, but as it turned out, defensive pass interference, and then a holding call on the Raiders offensive line as Darren McFadden went strolling right into the end zone. And a lot of Raiders officials, I heard a couple of them down on the elevator after the game saying there's no way that was a hold, it was a touch call. Maybe a makeup, maybe not.
You know, it wouldn't be the first time. I'll say that.
Certainly
you know,
would not.
And I think to your point, it's interesting too, talking about penalties. I thought the Patriots did a better job today with penalties after 15 last week. They had
Bill
6.
Belichick mentioned that also in his postgame.
Yeah, they cut him to 6 this week, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was a makeup call. You know, and again, like I said, it wouldn't be the first time. So I think both teams ended up benefiting, but at the end, it kept the Raiders out of the end zone, and you know, obviously the game ended with a Wilfork.
Did you think it was pass interference or a no call?
I thought it was a no call. I thought that was a no call in that situation. I was a little bit surprised that they did throw the flag. And then I didn't get, I'll be honest, I didn't get a really good look at the hold. I would need to see the replay on that, but I thought the pass interference anyway was a no.
All right. Gee, we had a Raiders-Patriots game with not one but 2 very controversial play calls by the men in stripes at the end of the game. Who knew, right? Well, the Patriots get a little extra time, Chris, to get things a little bit better in order. They have a big game coming up in 8 days. They take on the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead, always a tough place to play. Bill Belichick talks about the decibel volume at Kansas City all the time. And that will be on Monday night. And then that gets followed up by a Sunday night game against the Cincinnati Bengals, who improved to 3-0 today with a win over the Tennessee Titans. So this is a pretty critical 2-game stretch coming up for the Patriots. Chris Price will be in Kansas City bringing you all the action on WEEI.com. The Patriots final, they win the home opener and improve to 2-1. They beat the Raiders by a score of 16-9. He's Christopher Price. I'm Mike Petraglia, WEEI.com.